Hello, everybody. How are you today? This is Rev Jen. I have decided to do a series of short paranormal stories that I have experienced. I have experienced a lot of things with ghosts and spirits, bad and good, and I'm going to share with you once a week a short little story of something that I actually experienced. I did work at the Merchant House Museum for 10 years. And in New York City, it is known by New York Times the most haunted house in New York. And it's funny because the first time I went there, first of all, I never heard of the museum. I used to walk around that neighborhood for years, and I've never noticed it. One day, I was looking for paranormal investigation shows, and on YouTube, it popped the most 10 haunted places in New York City. And I'm like, yeah, right. And I watched it, and the Merchant House was on it, and I was shocked because I know the neighborhood, never noticed it. So I decided to go on a Friday with my friend to take a tour and to see if I experienced anything. Well, we went, and I fell in love with the house, and I needed to work there. I did not experience anything at all, but I was with a group of people, so maybe that's why, and we were never left alone. But I was told that I needed to speak to Roberta. She was the supervisor or volunteer, and I sent her an email. She emailed me back. She says, please come on Sunday, and I'll interview you. And I said, I will be there. And I went, and she interviewed me, and she says, all we have left is front door duties. And I said, I'll take it. Which meant, greeting the guests, selling, selling admissions. And that's it. So I went on a Thursday. Now, I took the tour on Friday. She interviewed me on Sunday and said, you're welcome. Welcome aboard. And I'll start on Thursday. So I was very excited. So Thursday I went, got there, I rang the doorbell. Somebody let me in. And when I walked in, there was nobody around. No one. And the house was very quiet. So I walked back to the admissions office, which is also known as the tea room. And as I'm taking off my coat, I hear someone coming down the steps. So I'm like, oh, must be the manager that's come down, to meet me. So I figured, let me go up to the steps and greet her. I walk over to the steps, the hallway steps, and I look up, and there's nobody around. No one. Now the house was quiet. It was before opening time. And I stood there and I listened, and nothing. You could hear a pin drop in that house. I was like, okay. It started. Kind of made me a little nervous. I'll admit to that. So I went back to the office and decided to wait there until somebody would show up. And as I'm sitting there, I hear footsteps coming down the steps. And I'm like, nope, staying right here. I do not want to experience that again. And I waited and I looked out the door and I saw the manager of operations, Emily. Well, that was her job. That was her title back then. And she came, she greeted me, and we talked. I said, okay. And then before the museum opened, I heard sounds coming from the basement. Sounded like a person down there. And I was told that the caretaker was somewhere in the house. Haven't seen her yet, but she was somewhere in the house. So I figured that must be her in the basement. And I heard her coming up the steps. I waited in the office to make sure. And she came in, introduced herself. Her name was Clarice. And we spoke for a minute. And she was in the office there doing whatever it is that she needed to do. I had no idea she was watching me. And we opened the museum. And everything was going fine at the beginning. And then things started happening to me. The doorbell stopped working. I could not open the door electronically. I would actually have to run back and forth in the hallway. Now, this is a very long hallway. The house was built in 1832. And to open the door, greet, the guests, and walk all the way back so I can, sell admissions. So I first called up Emily. I told her, the door is not working. She comes down and she works, looks at it, works with the doorbell, and now it's working. So she goes back upstairs. Now her office is on the 3rd floor. Okay, everything's okay. The doorbell stopped ringing and the door was not opening up anymore. And I tried trying to fix it myself. I saw what she did, figured I could do the same thing and fix it. Nope, it would not happen. And Clarice, sitting behind me, she says, what's the problem? I said, the doorbell's not working, the door won't open. She says, well, I find that very strange. It always works. I'm like, okay. I didn't know this lady. She was the caretaker. I found out she's been there like over 30 years. So I called up Emily again, said this is the problem. She come back downstairs, starts playing with it, and now nothing is working. And Clarice makes the statement. Well, I guess Jenny must have upset Gertrude. Because we know the doorbell always works. The door always opens electronically. So I guess Gertrude is upset with Jenny about something. I didn't say anything. Gertrude is the ghost of the house. And I looked at Emily's face, and Emily would not say a word. She had no idea if I knew about Gertrude or not. And she was not going to bring up the subject now, especially since I'm a new volunteer. And I'm assuming back then, she didn't want to lose me because they needed a volunteer to do the door on Thursday, and they had no one. So she got it fixed. It took her a few minutes, but she did it. And she went back upstairs. Everything is working fine. But then, guess what? The doorbell stops ringing. And the door will not open electronically. And I called Emily again, thinking, oh my God. She's going to be upset. And she comes back downstairs and starts again messing around with the doorbell and the telephone and the wires. And Clarice, I'm telling you, Jenny has upset Gertrude really bad for her to be doing this, because she doesn't do this. And Emily will not say a word, will not answer her, will not tell her, like, please, keep your comments to yourself. Nothing. She just kept playing around with all the wires. And finally, I said to Clarice, what on earth have I done? This is my first day here, and I like Gertrude. I really do. I like her. And Clarice just looked at me. She didn't say anything. Emily did not say a word, and gave up on it. She says, just answer the door. Unfortunately, you're going to have to just run and answer the door until this gets fixed. And she went back upstairs. I said, okay, what else can I do? Gertrude got, I guess, her point across to me. Well, waited for the next guest to come in to visit the museum. The doorbell rings. I press a button, and everything is working just fine. Everything is working just fine. And it did for the rest of the day. So I'm thinking, by me saying, but I like Gertrude, I really do, I think she decided to give me another chance. And she did. And this is the ending of this first story. If you like this story and want to hear more stories, please like and subscribe. And I will see you next week.